I mean, unless something goes drastically wrong, it appears we're looking at JD Vance in 2028. Unless something just goes haywire. Unless there's just some kind of massive political misstep on the part of the president or the vice president or the administration. Unless, I don't know, unless Jeffrey Epstein comes back from the dead. At this point, it looks like it's JD Vance in 2028. Now, I don't know who his running mate's going to be. I don't know who's going to be running a lot. I have some thoughts. In my head, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. But President Donald Trump, has not made any, up until this point, President Donald Trump has not made any kind of overture as to who he's going to endorse in 2028. And we know he's going to endorse somebody because that's what Donald Trump does. Donald Trump is an endorsement machine, or at least somebody in his administration is an endorsement machine. Somebody in his administration comes in and goes, endorse this guy, endorse that guy. And he goes on Truth Social. He goes, run, guy, run. And that's Donald Trump's thing. And to this point, so far, Donald Trump has dropped a lot of names, or actually he hasn't dropped any names, but he's been asked about a lot of people. And there's a whole handful of folks who, of course, would be interested in being president in 2028. Who wouldn't be interested in being president in 2028, especially for the Republican Party? The Republican Party, which is experiencing the most amazing approval ratings of all time. The Republican Party, which is growing by leaps and bounds. The Republican Party, which has taken over what used to be swing states like Florida and Ohio and has solidified them as red. The Republican Party, which has people like Scott Presler working diligently to turn non-Republican voters into Republican voters in places like, Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Republicans who are making waves in New York and Texas and Chicago and California. It's really going to be, I wouldn't want to be a member of any other party, but if you're running for president, following up Donald Trump as a Republican, that may be the way to go, especially if you can get his endorsement. Now, did JD Vance get President Donald Trump's endorsement? Nope. But he got somebody else's endorsement, and the endorsement he received comes with the added bonus of removing a potential challenger. I'll get to all that here. In just a minute. We got an exciting day today. Lots of stuff going on. First of all, let me just urge you to subscribe to this channel. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, I really don't know what you're waiting for. But man, we are posting content constantly. We start off every single morning. The first thing I do is I wake up and then I brush my teeth because you get that nasty, there's that morning, what do they call it? Morning breath. It's just gross. Your mouth is all gross. What have you been breathing in and out all night? And it's just gross. There's like a film. I don't want to get into it. But basically what happens is I wake up, I brush my teeth. I take the dogs out so that they don't urinate all over the floor. And then I come right into Kaye HQ, situated in beautiful Mar-a-Lago in illustrious downtown Jacksonville, Florida. And right here in Mar-a-Lago in Kaye HQ, I create something called the 47 Daily Podcast, which if you have not yet heard the 47 Daily Podcast, I would urge you to do that as well. What's going? Hold on, I missed my thing. I got too many buttons going
Merch
here.
like this. Really.
Let me take that down. There we go. The 47 Daily Podcast. And that goes out first thing in the morning. It's your daily dose of Trump news from Trump world. It's the first thing that really comes out of my mouth in the morning. And it's supposed to prime the pump, set up your day, get you informed about all of the things, the real news, not the fake news, the real news that's coming out of Washington, D.C., the real news that's coming out of the Trump administration. Not the propaganda that you get from the left, not the CNN fake news BS. This is straight from the White House to my mouth to your ears for 4 years. That's the catchy catchphrase I came up with for the 47 Daily Podcast. And then I get busy on working. I get busy living or get busy dying, as the immortal Morgan Freeman said in The Shawshank Redemption. That's exactly what I do. I get busy living, and we start pumping out more content, and we post on social media, and we get ready for this show so that at 1 o'clock we can bring you Mark Kaye Saves the Republic live. So definitely subscribe because, like I said, stuff is happening all the time, and I don't want you to miss any of it. I don't want you to miss a thing. I want you to be the first to be informed about what's going on in the world, and that includes who not only is attacking our current president, what our current president is doing to make your life better, but also what's going on in the future of politics. Who's going to be running for stuff in 2026? Who's going to be running in 2028? Who are the future leaders? And are they MAGA enough? Are they America first enough? Are they constitutional conservative enough to lead this country in the way that you and I think They should be led. We have another announcement, by the way, too, about somebody potentially running for a leadership position very soon. I'll get to both of those in just a minute. But first, I would be remiss, and I don't want to be remiss. I don't want to be remiss. I don't want to be remisses. I don't want to be remister. I don't want to be any of those things. I would be remiss if I did not mention the outcry, the fabricated anxiety or anger over these new ads from American Eagle. American Eagle. I don't know if they're still American Eagle Outfitters. They used to be American Eagle. Now they're just American Eagle, I think. But American Eagle has done a 180. They used to go woke, then they went broke. So now they're going non-woke and their stock price has just skyrocketed. And one of the things they did was they hired actress Sydney Sweeney to do a new series of ads. And Sydney Sweeney, if you're not familiar with her, is blonde, blue-eyed, Caucasian, voluptuous. You might, well, you know, like very, she has an attractive, a lot of guys are like, wow, like she's an attractive person. Anyway, so Sydney Sweeney was hired to be the new face of American Eagle, specifically their jeans campaign. And they came up with this whole concept that Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And it's a play off of Jeans, like the blue jeans that you put on your booty, or genes, Genes, which are, you know, the DNA, the double helixes and things that actually make up your booty. So anyway, here's what, this was the first ad. The first ad I saw with Sydney Sweeney was her like under the hood of a car. And this is clearly, I mean, this is just to drive toxic masculinity, because you got a hot girl and an old Mustang car, and there's burnt. Here it is. It looks like this. She's under the hood of the car. She's leaning forward, of course. She slams the roof. She wipes her backside, walks to the driver's side of the car, gets in, and then Sydney Sweeney has great genes is the tagline. She fires up this piece of American muscle, and then she does a burnout, and then there's smoke and everything else, and you're like, oh my God, here's a hot girl in jeans who can fix a car and also drive away in that car very fast. It's like every American red-blooded, you know, straight male's fantasy right there. Then there was this other ad which popped up, and this one is more just basic. This next one is basically all just eye candy and playing off of this one's just basically sexual.
My body's composition is determined by my genes.
Okay, now let me point out, I probably shouldn't pause there. Let me point out that if you're listening to the podcast and you can't see this, what happens is the camera starts on her face and then slowly pans down to her cleavage. It's like an area of cleavage. It's like she's got a shirt on, but it's kind of unbuttoned. So it starts on the face, and then the camera pans down. Excuse me. Pans down to her chest area, and then she says, well, then she's got the tagline. Well, here it is. Oh, let me here we go. Ready? Here it is.
Hey, eyes up here.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Yeah. And American Eagle. So there you go. So that's it. So it's all playing off of the fact that she is somebody that men would like to look at a lot. And it's a sexualization of, I guess it's twofold. I guess if you're a dude, you go, wow, I got to go to American Eagle because she's hot. And if you're a girl, you're like, wow, if I go to American Eagle, I'm going to be as hot as Sydney Sweeney. Either way, it's a very effective ad campaign. And did I mention, by the way, that, oh yes, American Eagle's stock price has skyrocketed since they dumped the wokeness ads. They had a girl who had like purple hair and not what you would consider to be the ideal, healthy, you know, body. And they ditched that for Sydney Sweeney. Here's the one, though, that has caused really this last ad where she's like buttoning up her. This is the ad that I think has caused the most controversy. So, and again, look, this is all, I know what you're thinking. Why is Mark Kaye just showing us, you know, hot girls and boobs? And that's not what I'm doing. There's political outcry. The left has lost their minds. The libs of TikTok and elsewhere, they have just, this is their new thing. It's now they're going after Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle because of these ads and the comparisons that they're drawing, the messages that we're going to get to that here, but this is just setting it up for the context. This is, I want you to understand kind of where the left is coming from in their latest bout of total insanity. This is the ad that I think has really set off the lunatic socialists on the left. Watch carefully.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring.
Okay, and again, if you're listening to the podcast, she's buttoning up her jeans, and then they're panning up her torso. Pardon me as my voice cracks. And she continues with her narrative.
Often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
Okay, so what she said was, she said genes are passed down I don't know why. Genes are passed down from parent to offspring, and it determines your hair color, your personality, even your eye color. And then she looks right into the camera with her blonde hair and her blue eyes, and she goes, my genes are blue. Okay? And then they say Sydney Sweeney has great genes. That's the whole campaign. It's meant to get attention on Sydney Sweeney so that you go to American Eagle and buy jeans. It's meant to draw attention to this attractive young woman getting dressed so that you go and you purchase whatever you can you spend drop all your money at American Eagle because of, you know, sexy Sydney Sweeney. So the left, after that last ad where she says my eyes are blue, they lost it, right? Like they were mad to begin with, but now they've just totally cracked. They've totally gone off the deep end, and they have taken to TikTok, and they've taken to Instagram, and they've taken to every platform they can to decry American Eagle, which, think about it. Think about the name, American. So you know they hate it already. They despise anything that promotes America or American or anything that is, you know, of this country, patriotic. American Eagle, bad enough that they've got the word American in their title, but now they've got this attractive woman, white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, talking about how her genes are passed down from parents to offspring, and she's got great genes and her eyes are blue. Listen to just some of the outrage, I guess you would say manufactured outrage on the lunatic left.
Should we be surprised that a company whose name is literally American Eagle is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes. Like, that is Nazi propaganda.
That is Nazi propaganda. That's not just propaganda. It's not just Republican propaganda. It's not just American. It's Nazi propaganda. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her quote-unquote good genes, Jeans or Genes. That is Nazi propaganda. That is white supremacy. That is perpetuating the Aryan race as the master race. That's what Hitler did. That's what Donald Trump did. And now American Eagle Outfitters is doing it a la Sydney Sweeney. That wasn't the only one, though. There's more. Here is a girl, I believe. I don't want to okay. Here's a person because you can never be too sure. Look, I'm pretty sure when I watch the American Era, I'm pretty sure if I say, hey, Sydney Sweeney's a woman or a girl, or if I refer to her as she, I feel confident in that. The rest of these, I don't really. So here's a person who's really upset about these ads as well.
Hey, American Eagle, now do black and brown women. Because black and brown women also have great genes that they inherit from their parents. Did you know that? They also have butts.
Okay, what? I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so here she is, and she is trying to say, hey, American Eagle, now do brown and black women because they also have great genes. Then she belches ridiculously loudly for some reason and says they also have butts, which I'm not sure. The belch, I don't know if that was there for dramatic emphasis or if she was just eating something that made her gassy, but that's, anyway, here we go.
That look really good in jeans as well. But they don't have to fit their butts into American Eagle jeans. And I realize that the point of the ads, if we're all understanding them correctly, is that you're trying to point in the direction away from black and brown women, right? Right. See, here's the thing. There's women like me out there. The white women who give a fuck.
Oh.
And the white women who had their mother spend a substantial amount of money at your place of establishment whenever I was a cunt of a teenager.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, sorry. I apologize. I forgot. I didn't realize she had all that language. Anyway, so you can tell there's anger there. You can tell she is an angry person, not happy with American Eagle. And she's saying, not only is your Sydney Sweeney ad going to backfire, not only will black and brown women, for some reason, because apparently black and brown women don't like Sydney Sweeney. They don't want to look good in jeans. I don't get it. Apparently black and brown women, they are going to stop shopping there. But there's also angry white women like me. Some would call them Karens, whose parents spent an obscene amount of money at your store back when I was a kid, and I demanded, I demanded that I get American Eagle crap. Now I'm not going to shop there. I'll be honest with you, I don't know that she doesn't strike me as a typical American Eagle shopper anyway. But then this is my favorite one. This is my absolute favorite. Of all the insanity, of all the crazy commentary, of all the angst and anger perpetuated by these new Sydney Sweeney ads, this one's my favorite because, well, I'll just play it for you, and then I don't want to give it away. Here, this is not an actress as far as I know. This is an actual just random angry person from TikTok, I guess, that hates American Eagle and Sydney Sweeney and is perpetuating the myth that they're Nazis.
They're literally saying the quiet part out loud, but was it ever truly quiet when you're wearing dumbass merch like this? I mean, really, make America great again. When was America ever great? Their definition of greatness was when this country was full of white supremacists and that slavery still existed. And now we have this interesting ad with a play on words where we pass on blue genes to those genetically with blue eyes. And let me just guess that they're going to market that these jeans are made out of 100% cotton. Heaven forbid that there's any poly blend or any mixture of other fabrics, because we will totally wrap them all up and incinerate them like we incinerated $10 million worth of contraceptives overseas and 56,000 tons of food. But there's always an exception of the mixture of different fabrics with 100% cotton, and that's when the 100% cotton is being picked by people of color. I mean, it's no accident that Sydney Sweeney's initials are S.
Okay, that's our SS. It got cut off. So this woman says, first of all, America was never great. All you Trump people, all you conservatives, all you red hat wearing mother fathers, you people think America was great back when we had slaves. That's what you want. You want to go back to the time when there were slaves. And this Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad proves it. Because you're saying, make America great again. Put a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman in some jeans, and then American Eagle will be fantastic and profitable, and everyone's going to love it. And then she goes on to talk about the jeans themselves. Let me guess. They're going to say they're 100% cotton. Not a poly blend, because we don't like blended things around here. We're racist. We want pure cotton. If it's not 100% anything, we don't want it. If it's not 100% cotton, then it's no good. And it's un-American. We don't want the melting pot. We don't want our rayons and our nylons mixed in with our synthetics. We're racists. We're fabric racists, and we only want the cotton. And that cotton, we know where the cotton comes from, as she pointed out. All those slaves that MAGA apparently wants to return to. But then my favorite was at the very end when she says, "It's no coincidence." Hold on, no, it cuts off. So it's no coincidence that Sydney Sweeney's initials are SS. Okay. Because American Eagle made it a point to go out and find an attractive, voluptuous, sexually desirable, famous actress with a huge following who also happens to have initials that could be interpreted as a code for the return of the Third Reich. I mean, that's what they wanted. They were going to go get somebody else, but her initials were like TM. Who's another hot, voluptuous model person that you could get? I don't even know, because I don't pay attention to anyone but my wife. But they went out, they tried to find some hot, voluptuous, but her initials didn't didn't have any kind of symbolism to Hitler and Nazi Germany, so they couldn't use her. I wonder if Sydney Sweeney put that in her I wonder if she puts that in like her, not her, like her, you know, like her resume on her headshot. It's like Sydney Sweeney appeared in multiple movies, got my start in that Euphoria film, very attractive. Also, my initials can be used to correlate to Nazi Germany. So I'm perfect for white supremacist clothing campaigns, like for a company called American Eagle. It's really wild. It's really wild how they, I mean, it's not even, I don't even think that's a stretch. Like, I think that's automatic. I think these people's brains work in a way where whatever they see on television or whatever they see, they somehow automatically click it. Like, the spin is incredible. I see myself as a fairly creative guy, and I've had to spin things every now and then, but I'll be honest with you, this kind of spin is incredible. The fact that Sydney Sweeney saying I have great genes, being a double entendre for the denim product you put on your backside and the things that make you who you are from your DNA structure. You know, the fact that these people are able to twist all of that into such a demented, racist, I mean, perception is just really, it's comical, troubling, but also a little admirable. You know, because that was some quick spin, and the SS thing. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought of that. Anyway, you'll see these ads probably all over the place because they're all over the place. And I imagine that this being as popular and as, I mean, think about this. Not only is this a popular and provocative ad campaign, but think of all the free publicity they're getting.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
I mean, think about that. Not only now. Hold on, let me go back here. By the way, I want you to know that I only watched that ad several times today to do I just wanted to make sure that you knew what was happening. So I show prepped by watching it this morning over and over again. But basically, I want you to understand that what they've done or what they continue to do is the more they complain about this ad, the more they politicize this ad, the more they turn it into a thing. The more they talk about it being a piece of white supremacist propaganda put out by a company that wants to get only white customers in their stores, the more they do that, the more free advertising they're giving to American Eagle. Because American Eagle, I'm sure they paid Sydney Sweeney a handsome amount of money. I'm not sure what, but it had to be in the millions. They paid some marketing company, you know, to put together the ads, and they had to get the old car, and they had to get the voiceover, you know, all that kind of stuff. They put it all together. Now they've launched it. It's a very expensive campaign, I'm sure, but man, the amount of free publicity they've gotten. I've seen these ads running on every major news network. I've seen them running on every conservative talk show, every conservative podcast and blogger. I saw Glenn Beck talking about it the other day. Chicks on the right were talking about it this morning. I mean, it's and then here, I just spent an obscene amount of, like 20 minutes. I just spent 20 minutes sharing it with thousands and thousands of people all over the world. I got thousands of people listening to this podcast, hearing over and over again how great American Eagle jeans are. I've got thousands of people across all my platforms, YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and everywhere else, watching and going, man, I got to go to American Eagle and get me some of them Sydney Sweeney jeans. And that is free advertising. That is free messaging. That is publicity that, I mean, I didn't know if they thought about it. I didn't know if they considered this or if it's just a byproduct. But this has been one of the most incredibly, I would have to think, profitable ad campaigns. One of the most incredibly dynamic, even if it is just serendipitous, backlashes. And the only people who are going to lose in this, I can't really imagine anybody, or maybe Buckle or Aeropostal or Banana Republic, because American Eagle they're going to be the big winner. They're the big winner of the year. What they've been able to do with this campaign is incredible. They've created something that was either purposely or accidentally controversial, and it will pay dividends for them. And personally, I love this stuff, not just from a political level. I like this for a couple reasons. Number one, it's always fun to make fun of lunatic liberals. It's one of my things. It's what we do on this show. It's what I pride myself in. I look forward to it. I go to Libs of TikTok every single day just to find those kinds of Karens and give them a little bit of airtime on this program. But also I love it because I'm into marketing. I market every single day. My podcast is a marketing platform. It's how I built my business. It's how I built my brand. All of our live streams, it's how I built my business. It's how I built my brand. And this ad especially, I think is one of those things that, if you use this kind of tactic correctly, anybody can create this kind of controversy. And this kind of controversy is something that anybody can profit from. And in my Podcast Profits Live event, which I'm having this Wednesday, by the way, I go through all of this. In fact, I'm actually going to work this into Podcast Profits Live because it's such a great, I guess you would say, textbook example of good marketing. Marketing you don't just pay for, but that pays for itself. So on Wednesday, if you're interested, I'm doing a free event. It's called Podcast Profits Live. You can register. There's a link in the description of this video. There should be a link in the description of this video. I'm pretty sure there's a link in the description of this video. Or if you're listening to the podcast, go to podcastprofitspro.com. Podcastprofitspro.com. You can see a bunch of people are signing up. Nye signed up and a couple of other people. But it's free. It's a free event. And I'll teach you how to launch a money-making podcast in just an hour without a studio, tech skills, or a huge online following. I'm giving you my proven system for free so you can create your own podcast with multiple streams of income in about an hour. And we've had hundreds of people go through this system already. And I'll show you what they've said about it. I'll show you their testimonials. You could be the next one. It's Wednesday, the 30th, July 30th at 8 p.m. It's free. It's not me talking about politics and that kind of stuff. It's me talking about podcasting and how you can create your own podcast, your own social media content that is going to help grow your personal brand, your business, and hopefully your bank account. So go Podcast Profits Pro if you'd like to join me for that. It's excellent. It's so much fun. All right, let's get to JD Vance, shall we? JD Vance is probably the front runner. I would say probably the front runner. I mean, the guy's vice president of the United States. And if history has taught us anything, vice president of the United States typically is the position that sets you up to become president of the United States. It's happened a lot in the past. It's that Thomas Jefferson was vice president, and then guess what? He became president later on. More recently, George H.W. Bush was vice president. He then became president. It happened that Gerald Ford was vice president. He became president. I mean, that was a whole different scenario, but you get the mean. It happens a lot that the president and that Joe Biden, if you remember, I always forget that, but he was vice president. Then he took 4 years off. Then he came back and became president again, sort of. And then, thank God, he was retired by the American people. So it's very typical. So JD Vance, being the vice president, being an effective vice president, being a good vice president, he leads the pack right now. It's JD Vance's job, I would think, to lose at this point. And everybody seems to think that JD Vance is going to be the guy who is going to lead us into the future. He seems to be the next possible president of the United States. And yesterday, I guess Marco Rubio was talking to Maria Bartiromo. And he was talking to Laura Trump. He was talking to Laura Trump. So it was Saturday night, I guess. Is Laura Trump's on Saturday? Yeah. So Marco Rubio was talking to Laura Trump, and she asked him about his own presidential ambition. She said, look, you talked about running for president back in 2016. You ran against President Donald Trump. You dropped out after you lost the Florida primary, and you endorsed Donald Trump. And now look where you are. You're the Secretary of State. Oh, some would argue one of the best secretaries of state we've ever had. I would argue that. And she said, what about 2028? What do you think? And listen to what Marco Rubio said in response to her question.
Final question. You just brought up your run in 2016 for president. You are talked about quite frequently as a possible contender in 2028. Do you have your sights set outside of the State Department? Well, I think JD Vance would be a great nominee. And if, I think if he decides he wants to do that. And so, I think he's doing a great job as vice president. He's a close friend, and I hope he intends to do it. I know it's kind of early, but being in the role that I'm in here at the Secretary of State, I really don't play in politics. There's actually rules against me being involved in domestic politics, and I want to do this job as long as the president allows me to do it.
and stay in that job, which would keep me here all the way through, January of 2028. I feel, honestly, you never know what the future holds. You never rule things out or anything like that, because you just don't know. Things change very quickly. But that said, I believe that if I am able to be here, through the duration of this presidency, and we get things done at the pace that we've been doing the last 6 months, I'll be able to look back at my time in public service and say I made a difference, I had an impact, and I served my country in a very positive way. And I would be satisfied with that as the apex of my career, and so that's what I'm focused on right now, because we're doing some special things that I think are going to bear dividend and fruit for a generation.
Marco Rubio has gone from being kind of senatorial, not an afterthought, but just kind of a moderate senator, to becoming one of the top politicians in our country. And what he did in that one answer, he did multiple things in that answer. The first thing he did was he flat out endorsed JD Vance. He flat out said, you know what? I think JD Vance, he goes, I know it's early, but JD Vance for 2028, that's my pick.
Final question. You just brought up your run in 2016 for president. You are talked about quite frequently as a possible contender in 2028. Do you have your sights set outside of the State Department?
Well, I think JD Vance would be a great nominee.
I think JD Vance would be a great nominee. He's basically saying JD Vance would be a great nominee in 2028. In doing so, he has thrown his support behind JD Vance, the Vice President of the United States, and being Secretary of State. He's really, I'm going to be honest with you. I know people like to say it's the House, it's the Speaker of the House. I know they say, it's Donald Trump is the president, JD Vance Vice President, and then the Speaker of the House is second in line to the presidency. I get it. I understand that technically. But I really think when it comes to power in the current administration and in the United States of America, I think Marco Rubio's right there. He's the guy. Donald Trump trusts Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has done some amazing things. He continues to do incredible things on the foreign policy front, on the domestic front. Marco Rubio has made amazing connections. He's stopped multiple wars. He's worked toward a lot of these tariffs and a lot of these deals we're making, like the deal that Donald Trump just announced with the EU that we'll get to in a minute. A lot of that Marco Rubio has worked on. And Marco Rubio says, as the third most powerful man in this administration, after President Donald Trump and after JD Vance, I'm going to be honest with you. I think JD Vance should be president. He's taken himself out of the running. That does a couple of things. Number one, it puts him in the running for vice president, which would be a great position for him. And number two, it sets him up for a future political career down the road as a potential presidential candidate. Why? Well, think about this. Marco Rubio said in that clip, as Secretary of State, I am prohibited from doing political things. Ain't no lie. That is true. As Secretary of State, he's not supposed to be a politician. He's not supposed to be out there doing political things or swaying people's opinions when it comes to the Senate or the Congress. His job is foreign policy. His job is to make sure that we have a fantastic foreign policy that is helping Americans, that is solidifying growth, and that is protecting generations to come. And if you are truly an effective Secretary of State, you are not involved in the day-to-day politics of Washington, D.C., thereby pretty much disqualifying you, because you can't come back and say, I did all these things. I negotiated. You're secretary, and Hillary Clinton be damned. You saw how ineffective her campaign was. Marco Rubio gets it. He's looking at it. He's going, JD Vance is the vice president. Why would I run against him? Why don't I bolster him? Why don't I support him? Because look what happened when Marco Rubio supported President Donald Trump. He ran against Trump in 2016. He got destroyed in his home state. He threw his support against President Donald Trump. And the second time around, he became Secretary of State. Now he looks at the landscape again and he goes, Donald Trump's not going to run. Somebody else will, probably JD Vance. Can I beat JD Vance? It would be a battle. It would be a fight. Would it splinter the Republican Party? Probably so. There's probably a lot of Marco Rubio supporters. There's probably a lot of JD supporters. There's probably people from Ohio that would get angry at people from Florida. It would be like a whole, like a whole football, Florida, Ohio State type thing. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is he understands you got to keep the party unified behind one person. And if he takes himself out of the equation, throws his weight behind JD Vance, then that makes him a great contender to be vice president. Vance Rubio is a winning ticket. And I think Marco Rubio sees that. And I think that when you look at JD Vance and he's already getting endorsements from someone like Marco Rubio publicly, I might have public endorsement, then JD Vance has got to be like, well, that's a huge plus. Plus you get Florida and Ohio, two of the greatest states you need to really, it's a winning combo. And Marco Rubio is smart enough to realize that. He's not going to try to bump off the number one choice. He's going to continue to do what he needs to do because he's young. He's like 55, this guy. He could be Secretary of State till 2028. He could spend 8 years. Hang on. I want to make sure. Hey, Siri, how old is Marco Rubio?
Marco Rubio is 54 years old.
Oh my God, he's 54. Okay, so he's 54 years old. I'm going to do some math here. In 2028, that will make him, it's 2025. Let's add 3 years, right? That'll make him 57. Okay. Then add 8 years to that, 65. He could run for president after 8 years of being vice president. He'd be 65 years old. And if he won, he'd only be 73 when he retired. And let's be honest, that's the age that most people become president these days. We have such a deep bench. The Republican Party is blessed with such a deep, young bench. JD Vance, Marco Rubio. You got a bunch of other Trumps, don't forget. Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Barron Trump's coming up the pike. You got Ivanka, who I know she's done with politics, but whatever. Laura Trump, she's not going to run for politics. She's not going to run for Senate either, but down the road, you never know. There are so many young conservatives that are making waves, that are making headways, that could literally lead this country for the next 2 to 3 decades. Let's talk about JD Vance. JD Vance, was out speaking about something or other. And he, first of all, is so well-spoken, which, let's be honest, you really need. That's really the number one goal, or that's really the number one thing you need when you're running for president. If you're running for president, you've got to be able to get up in front of people and speak to people and handle yourself in a debate. You've got to be able to get in front of the media and not let them twist your words. You've got to be able to fight back against, I don't know, Margaret. All these things. Everything that JD Vance has shown that he's been able to do in his very young period. He's only 40. JD Vance has manhandled the media. He's destroyed Tim Walz in a debate. And now he's out there giving speeches and answering the tough questions. And he's doing it in a way that really nobody can be upset about. He was asked about the Epstein files. And this was yesterday, I think. This is what JD Vance, Vice President of the United States and future president, according to Marco Rubio, said about the Epstein files.
Hi, Mr. Vice President. Julie Carr-Smythe from the Associated Press. I guess I'm going to be that person. There are some protesters outside accusing the GOP of protecting pedophiles, and we're wondering what you think are the reasons the U.S. government should shield the client list of Epstein from the public, and what you have to say about any relevance to that here today.
Well, let me say just a couple of things. First of all, the president has been very clear. We're not shielding anything. The president has directed the attorney general to release all credible information and, frankly, to go and find additional credible information related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. He's been incredibly transparent about that stuff, but some of that stuff takes time. You've got to assemble that stuff. You've got to compile that stuff. You've got to redact some victims' names so that you protect the victims. But the president has been very clear. He wants full transparency. He's asked that from the attorney general. And I know, because I talk to her all the time, the attorney general is hard at work on that issue right now. But I think I got to make an observation that there's an interesting thing about this case that the American media seems to totally ignore. For 4 years under Joe Biden's Department of Justice, the media didn't give a damn about the Epstein files or about the Epstein case. For literally 20 years, the story about this scumbag, and he is a scumbag pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, he's dead now, but for 20 years, you had Obama and George W. Bush's Department of Justice go easy on this guy. They didn't fully investigate the case. They didn't show any curiosity about the case. And now Donald J. Trump is asking his Department of Justice to show full transparency. And somehow that's a criticism of Donald J. Trump and not Barack Obama and George W. Bush. if you want to criticize the people who aren't showing full transparency, you ought to go after the administrations that went easy on Jeffrey Epstein, the administrations that concealed this case for 20 years, and the administrations that failed to show full transparency. Donald J. Trump, I'm telling you, he's got nothing to hide. His administration has got nothing to hide, and that's why he's been an advocate for full transparency in this case. He's going to keep on being an advocate for full transparency, but while we're focused on that case, Donald J. Trump is also worried about making sure these great workers get more take-home pay and better jobs, and that's the focus of the administration.
Yeah, so there he is. That is JD Vance talking about the Epstein case and saying, look, I talk to Pam Bondi every single day. Think about that. Do you think Kamala Harris was on the phone with Merrick Garland every single day? Do you think Kamala Harris even knew who Merrick Garland was? Do you think that if you showed Kamala Harris a photo of Merrick Garland, she'd be able to tell you what role he played in the administration? Probably not. I don't know if Kamala Harris could name any of the other cabinet members. Kamala Harris probably thought that Jill Biden was a cabinet member. So the fact that JD Vance says he's talking to them, he's working with them, he's on the inside. We've seen how he reacted with foreign leaders, how he acted with Keir Starmer when Keir Starmer started to claim that he somehow supported free speech. And JD Vance is like, whoa, hold on there, buddy. Cool your fish and chips for a minute. Let's put that stout back in the keg for just a second, because free speech in the UK do not go hand in hand these days. And you're a big reason for that. He's not afraid. He started the entire kerfuffle with Zelensky. It was because of JD Vance that the Zelensky-Trump feud exploded in front of the media and ended up with Zelensky getting tossed out onto Pennsylvania Avenue without a single check or contract for us to go in and protect the Ukraine while taking advantage of their rare earth minerals. That was all JD Vance, Vice President JD Vance. And this is a guy who's proving every single day that he's on top of what's going on. He understands what the administration is doing. He's working with the key players involved in every important process. And most importantly, get this, he has the president's back. JD Vance has not come out and said anything that's not right in line with President Donald Trump. And in a vice president, that's what you want. JD Vance has not come out and said, this is wrong. This needs to be done differently. Donald Trump is lying. Release everything. Release the hounds. He hasn't said any of that. There are other Republicans who've said that. I've said that. I've said release all the Epstein files now. I don't care if you're not going to charge anyone. I don't care if there's no blackmail. I still want to see it all. And you promised us. Charlie Kirk's been saying that. Dan Bongino, we believe, Dan Bongino had a very, very mysterious post on X over the weekend, which I'll share with you here in just a minute. But the fact of the matter is that JD Vance is supportive of the president, supportive of his administration, supportive of his stance, is able to articulate it expertly, and is setting himself up for what could be another 8 years of conservative America First leadership in the United States, which is awesome. He was also asked about these thugs in Cincinnati who, I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if I have this. There may be profanity. Hang on. Cincinnati, which I know how to spell because I've been there several times. Yeah. So there was this clip of these people getting just pummeled in Cincinnati. And, all right, here it is. I'll play you this. I can play it without the audio, which is, well, maybe I can play it with the audio. Let me see what happens here. Here we go. There's a couple, and they're a white couple, and there was a large gang of, it looks like African-American folk. I don't know if they were all together or what, but basically what happened is, and I don't know why, all of a sudden this couple got attacked. Here we go. Here's what it looks like on the X. Yeah, and they're kicking the guy's down on the ground, and there's women kicking. I mean, these women are just kicking him. And they look like like they just came out of the nightclub. They're wearing these like fancy outfits. Another woman gets dragged to the ground. I guess the guy's with the woman. They're kicking him in his head. Some dude's just basically stomping on him. And I mean, it's a gang. It's two people getting totally destroyed by this gang of kids in Cincinnati. No, I have no idea what the motive was. I have no idea how it started. I have no idea how it ended. But JD Vance, as many other people, Bernie Moreno, all these people from Ohio, they were asked about it because Cincinnati's in Ohio. JD Vance is from Ohio. Here's what he said about this.
There was a group of people who attacked a couple folks on the street in Cincinnati. Senator Bernie Moreno, some others have spoken out about it, have been critical of it.
Okay, yes. So what I saw, and I haven't seen the full context, but what I saw is a mob of lawless thugs beating up on an innocent person, and it's disgusting. And I hope every single one of those people who engage in violence is prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And they will be. They will be so long as law enforcement in the state of Ohio takes their job seriously. I know Dave Yost cares a lot about these things. But yeah, I actually, you're right. Bernie did send me a clip of this, and we talked a little bit about it. I don't know the full context. I don't know how the fight started. But the one part that I saw that was really gruesome is you had a grown man who sucker punched a middle-aged woman. And where I come from, at least, when you have a grown man who sucker punches a middle-aged woman, that person ought to go to jail for a very long time. And frankly, he's lucky there weren't some better people around because they would have handled it themselves. But if they're not going to handle it, the cops in Cincinnati, the law enforcement, you've got to prosecute people. We've had way too much lawlessness on the streets of great American cities. How many of you all have wanted to go to downtown Akron or downtown Canton or downtown Columbus for a meal, but you're worried because the local authorities in these big cities have allowed lawlessness to run wild? We have got to make great American cities safe again for families and children. If you want to take your wife or your children out for a meal, you shouldn't be worried about street violence. And the only
and that is, and he's right. I have video. I didn't play it because it's just too gruesome, of this guy basically clocking this woman on the street, and again for no apparent reason, just no apparent reason. This guy just sucker punches her, and she falls. Well, maybe maybe I will show it here real quick. So this is what happens. It's a couple was brutally attacked at the Cincinnati Music Festival. Here's this woman. She's standing there in her flowered dress, and it looks like it's her husband or her boyfriend who's getting attacked. And she's standing there, and the guy's helpless on the ground. People are kicking him. He's begging for help. He's looking for help. And this crowd just gathers around him, and she's trying to dig in there and get to him. And as she helps him up, and he's bloody and kind of bruised, as she helps him up, some guy comes up and punches her, just boom. And she falls down on the ground, and she's bloody, and she's basically knocked unconscious. And it's just horrible. And then luckily at that point, looks like some people come to her aid, or they're trying to move her out of the way. We're not really sure what happened, but it's weird that this is all of a sudden happening in places like Cincinnati and other big cities. And JD Vance is like, look, we are law and order. We are crime is bad. And these people need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Fun fact, I haven't heard a single gosh darn Democrat come out against this. I haven't heard any Democrats. There's a lot of Democrats in Ohio. There's a lot of Republicans in Ohio who act like Democrats. And they haven't said a single thing about it either. The only people I've heard talk about it are, number one, JD Vance, number two, Bernie Moreno, and other folks in Ohio. JD Vance, by the way, was asked. JD Vance was asked about the other folks in Ohio who maybe are not conservative or are not supporting Donald Trump or are not supporting the American people and the one big beautiful bill. And he had some choice words for them as well.
And I noticed you had a message for Amelia Sykes. Representative Marcy Kaptur is another congresswoman in Ohio who is very vulnerable for re-election. I'm wondering if you think their vote against this bill will come back to hurt them in the midterms, and also if you could speak to how the Republican Party is using the bill to help them in the midterms for 2026.
Well, I think the way Republicans are using it to help us is pretty simple. We think this is a great bill for the American people. We think it's great for the incredible American workers that I see smiling up at me right now. They're getting a little hot, I can tell, but we're having a good time, and the bill is good for them. And so it's going to help us because when you help people, when you give people a tax cut, when you lower taxes on overtime, I believe the people reward you with their votes. That's what it's all about. If you go to Washington, you make some promises and you keep those promises, that's how you earn people's trust. That's how you earn people's vote. And that's what I think is going to benefit the Republican Party because we made those promises. We said we're going to cut taxes on tips. We said we're going to cut taxes on overtime. We said we were going to penalize foreign nations and foreign corporations for taking advantage of American workers, and that's exactly what President Trump has done, and I hope that people will reward us for it. But yeah, anybody who voted against it, I think they ought to pay a penalty. because they voted against all those great things for the people of Akron and the people of northeastern Ohio. You know, Marcy's, I guess her district is in northwestern Ohio, but you've got a lot of manufacturing and a lot of energy workers in northwestern Ohio that would have benefited from her yes vote. And here's the last thing I'll say about this. The craziest thing is, if you're a Democrat and you don't like this legislation, then come and talk to us. Make some proposed changes. Tell us, you know, this provision isn't so good. We'd like to change it a little bit. And if we change it, then I could get to yes. This is the process of government. And these guys didn't even come to the White House and try to make their concerns known. They didn't try to make the legislation better. They just attack. All they care about is impeaching Donald J. Trump. They don't care about whether your groceries go down. They don't care about whether you get a raise. They don't care about whether you have a job next year. Their obsession in government is letting illegal aliens into this country and attacking Donald J. Trump. I don't think the American people should reward that broken style of politics, and I don't think they're going to come November of 2026.
All right, so there you go, November 2026. Marcy Kaptur, by the way, and Amelia Sykes they're both Democrats, but they're from Ohio, and they are in, I guess you would call them purple districts, or districts that evidently the Republicans have targeted as flippable. Because remember, the Republicans have a slim majority, and in 2026, typically 97% of the time, the party in power loses seats in the House. So they're looking at everything. They're looking at Texas. They're redistricting. They're trying to make sure that they can codify a win in Texas. They want to make sure that in New York, their vulnerable seats are not that vulnerable, that they've got the right people in place so they can continue to hold those 6 seats in New York. And in Ohio, they're looking at Marcy Kaptur and Amelia Sykes, and they're saying these women voted against legislation, the One Big Beautiful Bill, that would have helped people in Ohio. And isn't your job to go and vote for the people in your district? Isn't your job to vote to help the people who sent you to Washington, D.C. in the first place? Isn't your job to vote for the good bills and not vote for the bad bills? Or vote yes for the good bills and no for the bad bills? That's basically all your job is. Super simple. But they've bastardized it. All the Democrats have. They go to Washington, D.C. and instead of saying, is this good for Canton? Is this good for northeastern Ohio, northwestern Ohio, I think is Kaptur? Is this good for them? Or is this good for the Democrat Party's plight to stop Donald Trump and impeach him? Is this good for the people that sent me to Washington, D.C.? Is this going to help the farmers back home, the manufacturers back home in Canton? Is this going to help Ohioans put more money in their pocket? Is it going to keep the waiters and waitresses and valets and everybody else in Ohio? Is it going to keep them from having to get taxed on their tips or their overtime? Is it going to, at the end of the day, be financially beneficial to all of those people who voted, who elected me to go to Washington, D.C. and make it easier for them to beat back the size of government and make sure the government doesn't destroy their livelihoods? Is it going to be easier for them, or is it going to make me feel better about being a Democrat because I'm attacking President Donald Trump by not voting for the bill he wants passed? It's exactly what's happening, and JD Vance is calling it out. JD Vance pointing it out. And that's why JD Vance is, according to Marco Rubio, the front runner for president in 2028. There's another major political announcement. It hasn't been made yet. It's coming soon. Before I share with you the next Republican who is stepping up their leadership position, let me just thank a couple people here because we got some super chats coming in. One is from Jeff Tim, $20 super chat. Sorry. $20 super chat from Jeff Tim. He writes, "Hi, Mark. Next month, I'll make another $100 campaign contribution unless Sydney Sweeney runs against you." Wow. Jeff, thank you so much. That is very cool. I definitely appreciate that. Sydney Sweeney, fun fact, is not going to run against me because she is not a resident of Florida. You need to be a resident of Florida for at least 6 months before you can run for any congressional office. So right now it's just me and John Rutherford. And I'll tell you what, I look way better in jeans than John Rutherford does. I look good. I look better in pretty much anything than John Rutherford does. But Jeff, that is a very, very generous $20 super chat. We thank you very much. And I do look forward to that additional donation. We also got some Rumble rants that have been coming in. It looks like Amy BBB also, look at this. Amy BBB dropped a $20 Rumble rant. Sorry, that's just too much fun. Amy B dropped a $20 Rumble rant and she said, "This is for saying that you don't pay attention to anyone but your wife. Makes me especially glad to be a supporter of yours." Amy BBB. That's very sweet. And I'm especially glad that you are a supporter of ours as well. And I do really appreciate, you know what? Just, if you knew my wife, you know that she'd kill me if I, and it doesn't matter. But thank you so much. That is very sweet. And we appreciate all of our Rumble ranters. We appreciate all of our super chatters. We appreciate anyone who makes a campaign contribution, because we got some big stuff. We got some big fish that need a frying, and the frying pan needs some butter. And the butter is your donations. So there you go. So any donations you make, whether through super chat or Rumble rant or on the campaign website, all go to benefit the show, the campaign, and allow us to keep doing what we're doing, which hopefully you're enjoying, because you're here. I have to imagine you're enjoying it if you're still here after like an hour almost. But let's get to this other announcement. So we've got a bunch of political announcements already. Byron Donalds has announced that he's running for governor in the Florida primary, in the Florida gubernatorial race in 2026. That is, of course, once Ron DeSantis is term limited out. There are rumors that Casey DeSantis, the first lady of Florida, Casey DeSantis, wife of Ron DeSantis, will be running. There's polling out there that says she's actually a popular candidate, and in some polls she outperforms Byron Donalds, but no official paperwork has been filed, no official announcement from her campaign, nothing official from Casey DeSantis as far as running for office. Right now, it's still just Byron Donalds. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little shocked, because now Byron Donalds announced really early, kind of like I did. Byron Donalds said, look, I love being a congressman. I love representing Florida, but we need a governor. And I think that I'm the strong MAGA, America first, Florida first voice that we need. And Donald Trump endorsed him right out of the gate and said, run, Byron, run. Well, we were all waiting to see who else would jump in. So far, nobody has. There was talk early on of Matt Gaetz. I don't know that Matt Gaetz is still contemplating that kind of a decision, that kind of a move. He's very comfortable with his position at OAN. He's got a podcast that's very popular, and he's still got some baggage, I guess, that people keep throwing up in his face, and maybe the same things that happened that kept him out of the Justice Department, maybe the same things that would keep him out of the governor's mansion. So maybe he's just laying low. But still, Casey DeSantis, you would think, would be ready, willing, and able to run if these rumors are true. And maybe they're waiting for, I don't know what they're waiting for, but if it's going to happen, hopefully it will happen soon. Another state in need of a governor in 2026 is South Carolina. And another very prominent, very well-known, very popular in some respects, Republican congressperson is considering running for governor of South Carolina. And that person is Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace. You may remember Nancy Mace from, just being Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace is the one that introduced the legislation to make sure that only women could use the women's room in the House bathrooms. Nancy Mace was attacked. You may remember she wore that arm sling for a while. Nancy Mace was one of the representatives who voted with Matt Gaetz to oust Kevin McCarthy. Nancy Mace has been, she's been all over the place. All over the place Mace, you might call her. She teased a special announcement coming soon on her X account. She said, special announcement coming soon. Nothing else. A photo of her and President Donald Trump. And then 3 photos of her, just being Nancy Mace with her big cross earrings and her, doing Nancy Mace thing. She's got the t-shirt with the men and the women. That's fine. Nancy Mace special announcement coming soon. She was also on, I want to say it was Fox News, because I think that's where they all go. And it was Fox News, and she teased an announcement again with more specifics.
I'll be making that decision in the coming days. I'm very excited about the momentum. There's another third-party poll coming out today showing a lead that we have over everybody else. We're leading by almost double digits against the rest of the field. We have almost 80% name ID. And so to those that want to come after me, I say bring it, because I'm going to work hard for South Carolina in the event I make the decision to do this very soon.
All right. So I feel like that's a decision. I feel like when you say bring it, you've already made the decision. Oh, it's already been brought in. I feel like Nancy Mace, we all know it's the worst kept secret in politics. So Nancy Mace is going to run for governor of South Carolina, and she says she's already polling well ahead of the pack. There's another third-party poll that just came out and said you're running double-digit lead in South Carolina for the governor's race, which means we're going to have an opening for a congressperson in South Carolina. We're going to have another opening for a congressperson in Florida, because either way, if you run for this office and you don't win, you can no longer be in Congress. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So Byron Donalds, by announcing he's running for governor, is saying, I'm not going to be in the next Congress. He's saying, I'm giving up my seat to run for governor, and if somehow I lose to Casey DeSantis or Matt Gaetz or whomever else throws their hat into the ring, oh well, I'm not going to be in Congress next time around. You're going to have a new representative from Naples, Florida. And the same thing with Nancy Mace. She's saying, I'm going to run for governor, or pretty soon I'll be making the decision to run for governor of South Carolina. And if I win, great, I'll be the governor of South Carolina for 4 years, maybe 8. And if I lose, I just won't be in Congress anymore. And they're going to have to find a new representative from Charleston, where she's like from Charleston, Myrtle Beach area, kind of like North Myrtle, between North Myrtle and Charleston, it doesn't matter. She's from South Carolina, not that big a state. And so there's going to be a lot of new blood in Congress in 2026. I myself have also thrown my hat into the ring in what is a growing campaign to oust Representative John Rutherford. And Representative John Rutherford, yeah, he's a Republican, but he's not a very good one. And that's why we're running against him in the primary, to make sure that anytime we're sending Republicans to Congress, they're the right Republicans that we're sending to Congress. Anytime we send somebody to Congress as a conservative, they are not just a conservative, but an America First MAGA conservative who is going to fight for America first. And make sure that government is small. Keep government small. Make sure that your tax dollars stay in your pocket and not the government's. Make sure that whatever it is that you think the government is taking, deregulate this, deregulate that, make it easier for you to live your life without government intervention or the government stopping you or the government telling you, no, you can't do it. Making sure you feel safe, making sure that the border's secure, making sure that the economy's thriving, that the military, for crying out loud, is the most technologically advanced and well-trained and lethal and deadly military this country, this world has ever seen. That's how we're going to continue to put America first. And that's why I'm running. That's why Nancy Mace apparently is running for governor. That's why Byron Donalds is running for governor. And that's why hopefully they'll be replaced by America First conservatives in all of those places as well. In the meantime, the Democrats are still looking around. I don't know what the Democrats are still looking around. The Democrats have a double problem here. Their first problem is they're still trying to fight back against this whole Joe Biden thing. The auto pen scandal, the Joe Biden was demented scandal, the Joe Biden was not physically fit and everybody lied about it scandal, the you guys basically had a weekend at Bernie's president for 4 years. We all knew it and you all denied it. You lied. You denied. You refused to tell anybody, this guy probably shouldn't be president anymore. He doesn't know his name half the time. He doesn't know the name of the people he works with. He can't walk off of a stage. Sometimes he falls off of the stage. Sometimes he falls up the stairs. Sometimes he's looking for dead people. He shakes hands with ghosts and he can barely speak. Plus he sleeps most of the day. And we're really kind of concerned about it. No one said that. They all said he's fine. He's okay. He's doing great. So they've got to try to figure out a way to talk their way out of the dead end, by the way, or the corner that was Joe Biden was great. Now that we know that he wasn't, now that we know that the auto pen was doing the work for him, now that half of his administration is being called up in front of Congress and they're pleading the fifth, it's really tough for the Democrats to come up with any other story. Pete Buttigieg, who has not yet been subpoenaed, I don't think. Pete Buttigieg has not yet been subpoenaed, I don't think. But he was interviewed on NPR, this is another great reason why we need to defund NPR. Listen to the lie that Pete Buttigieg told to NPR about his time in the administration, because he was a cabinet secretary. He was Secretary of Transportation. He was probably the worst Secretary of Transportation this country's ever had. I didn't know you could be a bad Secretary of Transportation. I thought, you keep the planes in the air, you keep the buses rolling, keep the ships coming in, make sure that the roads aren't too hazardous. Yep, easy breezy, lemon squeezy. Pete Buttigieg was the worst transportation secretary we've ever had in this country's history. Since we've had transportation secretaries, I couldn't name another one that was worse. But here he is with a new excuse as to why Joe Biden acted the way he did.
You never had a moment before that famous presidential debate where you worried about whether he was all there?
There are moments where I thought, he's looking tired today, or where I noticed that he was aging. But there was never a moment where I thought, this decision, this policy, or this process is going worse or is wrong because of the fact that he's old.
Okay, listen to that one more time.
Never had a moment before that famous presidential debate where you worried about whether he was all there?
There are moments where I thought, he's looking tired today, or where I noticed that he was aging. But there was never a moment where I thought, this decision, this policy, or this process is going worse or is wrong because of the fact that he's old.
Okay, so he said, he goes, oh, he was tired. That's the Hunter Biden, he took Ambien excuse, by the way. That's a new thing. It was the Ambien. He was basically, they're saying, no, he wasn't mentally incapacitated. He was drugged. He was tired. We had him drugged up because he couldn't sleep. And because he was tired, he looked old. But here's the deal. Here's Pete Buttigieg's, this is his defense. This is going to be the new defense for the Democrats. Joe Biden may have been tired and old. He may have been incapacitated. He may have been demented. He may have been physically and mentally unfit to be president. But the legislation didn't suffer. There's nothing legislatively or administratively that Joe Biden did that, we wouldn't have, it didn't hurt the country at all. There wasn't one decision where I said, I disagree with that, or, whoa, how did that happen? Or, yikes, we probably shouldn't have done that. He goes, no, it doesn't matter that we covered up for this president, that this president was old, tired, incapable, mentally unstable, all those, it doesn't matter. With it's still, the country went on. And none of the decisions he or whoever was making them were questionable. If he wasn't making the decision, he would have. That's their excuse. It's totally fine that Joe Biden couldn't do the job because the people that were secretly doing the job did what he probably would have done anyway. It's not how America works. But when you are a Democrat, I mean, what else do you have to go on? What else do you really have? When you're a Democrat, you really can't, there's nothing you can do to cover up all of the bad things that you've done. There's nothing you can do. You've got to say, look, you know what? Busted. All right. Jake Tapper, he turned on us. He stabbed us in the back. Jake Tapper wrote that book. And now you know the dirty little secret that Joe Biden was not mentally there. Joe Biden should not have been president. Yes, you caught us. Okay, we give up. But the country's none the worse for wear. Everything that got done should have been done. You're good to go. That's what they're saying. You know what they could do? They could come clean. They could apologize. Instead, they're pleading the fifth. You know who apologized? Bill Maher apologized. Bill Maher, who, I don't know, I like him more. He's getting better with age. Bill Maher makes more and more sense these days. Bill Maher apologized for doubting Donald Trump's economic policy when it comes to tariffs.
I remember along with probably most people, was saying at the beginning, by the 4th of July, somebody had to think how the country was, the economy was going to be tanked by then. And I was kind of like, well, that seems right to me, but that didn't happen. Now, it could happen tomorrow. I'm just saying that's reality. So let's work first from the reality of that, not from I just hate Donald Trump. Because that's boring and doesn't get us anywhere and leads you to dishonesty. Because the truth is, I don't know what his strategy is. But look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to fucking this economy by this time, and they didn't. So, how do we deal with that fact? Because that's the fact.
Yeah. Okay. So, by the way, why does everyone curse? Can people just not curse? It's just so. Now I gotta go. Now I have editing to do, and I don't want to edit. I just want to. Hold on. Let me write that. Let me note that down real quick. Bill Maher cussed at 1 hour and 9 seconds. Or 9 minutes. 1 hour and 9 minutes into the show. I got to bleep out an F word because Bill Maher can't keep his effing mouth clean. Sorry. Anyway, but Bill Maher saying I was wrong about the tariffs. I said Donald Trump's going to tank the economy. These tariffs are going to destroy us. By the 4th of July, people are like, we're going to be destroyed. And I was like, yeah, that seems reasonable. The opposite is true. The tariffs are good. The tariffs are helpful. The tariffs are paying down the economy. It's amazing. In fact, even CNN is saying, these tariffs are pretty good.
Start.
And there is this $750 billion investment in U.S. energy that's part of this. Is that part of Europe's plan to wean itself away from Russian energy?
Well, when I served as ambassador, we were trying desperately to get Europe to abandon Nord Stream 2 and buy energy from us. And, you know, back then they were hooked on cheap Russian gas. They didn't think that Russia posed a threat to Europe. Look how a few years have changed things. So now they don't want to buy from Russia. They want to buy from the U.S. This is something that is tailor-made for this kind of a deal. And I think very soon you're going to see what's, you know, was known as a transatlantic highway of LNG tankers going across the Atlantic to Portugal or to other ports and depositing, you know, large amounts of LNG. And we will become the dominant supplier to Europe, which is in Europe's benefit and it's in our benefit. And it really, really screws Russia, which is exactly the goal.
And that is something that CNN is reporting, which is true. And LNG, liquid natural gas, by the way, for those of you that are wondering. But basically what's happening is, here's the dealio. Joe Biden allowed Russia to dominate European energy. He cut off the flow of American energy to Europe. Our allies, supposedly, our NATO allies, oh, we love Europe, we want to protect Europe, but we're not going to give them any energy because we're placating the environmentalists here back at home. So when Europe can't get energy from their good friends, the United States of America, who have their best interests at heart, they go to Russia. And they're giving money to Russia in exchange for Russian energy. And Russia is more than happy to give them this energy because A, Joe Biden made it possible, and B, they're getting money, billions of dollars from Europe. And what do they do with the billions of dollars from Europe? They send it to the border of Ukraine and they bomb Ukrainians. And they shoot Ukrainians and they shoot missiles into Ukraine and drones into Ukraine and they invade Ukraine and they perpetuate this ridiculous war for years using money given to them by European nations. Now, at the same time, what's happening in Europe? Europe saying, we need to protect Ukraine. We need to help Ukraine. We need solidarity with Ukraine. So they go to the United States and they say to Joe Biden, you got to give us money for Ukraine. And Joe Biden says, okay. And with the help of Republicans like John Rutherford, he sends $370 billion to Ukraine to fight Russia. So Europe is paying for Russia to fight Ukraine, and the United States is paying for Ukraine to fight Russia. And nobody sits back and goes, gee, this is demented. Europe the whole time is saying Russia, they're telling Vladimir Putin to stop fighting Ukraine, but they keep giving him money to do it. And so Donald Trump comes along and says, look, you got to stop buying Russian oil because what you're doing is you're allowing Vladimir Putin to build up his stockpile of weapons. You're allowing Vladimir Putin to keep the pressure on Ukraine, to keep fighting the Ukrainian people, to keep trying to push Russia farther east. And he's doing it with your money. Stop it. Give us the money. Give us the money. We'll give you the energy you need. We can cut off Russia. We can choke Vladimir Putin. We can stop the war. And at the same time, you won't have to worry about getting invaded because you're going to be getting your energy from a trusted ally, the United States of America, a strong ally. Nothing is going to happen to you. We will be economically tied. And for those of you that complain that we're making you pay your fair share in NATO, guess what? If you are economically tied to a country or a region, you're going to be militarily tied to that country or region. Why? Because you don't want your customer to die. What Donald Trump has done, and let me play it. Here's what they're talking about. Donald Trump went to Scotland and he met with the leader of the European Union and they worked on this trade deal that they've been negotiating for it took months, he said.
This started months ago, this negotiation. So we knew pretty much what we were getting into and we were able to make a deal that's very satisfactory to both sides. So it's a very powerful deal. It's a very big deal. It's the biggest of all the deals. It will be the biggest of all the deals. So we're very honored to have done so. And your staff has been fantastic, and they've worked together long and hard.
So Donald Trump said this is going to be the biggest of all the deals. Of all the deals, this is the biggest one. The biggest of all the deals is this deal right here. How big is it? Well, allow me to explain. Here's Donald Trump, and he kicks it off with, of course, the most important part, which is the energy.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. they are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is, but it's the good news is we make the best military equipment in the world, so sort of you have to do that. I mean, until somebody tops us, which is not going to happen. We're way
ahead of them. Just ask Iran. He goes, just ask Iran. If you don't believe me, ask Iran how advanced our military equipment is. This is insanity. This is $750 billion of energy. Number one, that's huge. Because remember, not only does that make America richer, it makes Russia poorer. And if you make Russia poorer, that's a good thing because Vladimir Putin's a lunatic, thug, tyrant, criminal murderer who wants to destroy Ukraine and probably other parts of Europe. And we don't want to give him any more money because money is what's been driving the war in Ukraine. Joe Biden has been playing both sides. He allowed Russia to get money from Europe for energy, and then he sent money to Vladimir Zelensky so this war could go on eternally. Donald Trump's going to choke it off. He's going to say, this is where it stops. We're taking almost $1 trillion, $750 billion in energy that will be supplied from the United States of America. And that's money that doesn't go to Vladimir Putin. That's a lot of money. $600 billion in additional investments. Now we're over $1 trillion. They're going to buy military equipment, which ain't cheap. We know that. Donald Trump already sold military equipment to NATO. Now he's selling it to the EU. And that's going to be money that is put right into our pocket, money we never had before. Then they're going to open up trade. Trade is important. They never let us send them anything. They didn't take our beef. They didn't take our agricultural products. They didn't take our cars. Americans make the finest cars in the world. But Germany also makes cars, and Germany did not want the competition from the United States of America. If you've ever been to Germany, you know everybody drives a Mercedes-Benz. I walked out of last time I was in Munich, it was years ago, but I went to Munich, I flew in, and I hit my Uber, and it said, Sven, or Gestankt will pick you up in a black Mercedes 7 Series. And I was like, whoa, fancy. And then I walk out there, and it's like all Mercedes-Benz, like 3 and 5 and sets, or BMWs, you know the thing. So I get in the car, and I realize everybody there has a Mercedes. Why? Well, because there's no competition. So Germany just sells everybody a car. Same with France. I was in France just earlier this year. I saw tons of Citroën. Everybody was driving a Citroën, a couple Fiats in Italy. It's Fiats everywhere. Why? Because they don't allow American cars to come in and compete. Because they know that they would blow the roof off the competition. Donald Trump said, that's not fair. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to open it up. And now American cars will be allowed to be sold in Europe, the entire European Union. That is a massive coup for the United States of America. I have it here. Where is it? Here it is.
Cars basically were not invited. Were not. I don't know if the word is not allowed or just, you just kept them out somehow, right? But cars will be, we have some cars that do terrific business and we do really well with the pickup trucks, with the SUVs. We have some great things. And I think the people of Europe will have some diversification. I think that'll make them happy. So I think maybe cars would be the one that would go the biggest. And the second would be agriculture, the farmers. And we'll do it in very strict conjunction with the president and the European Union.
Donald Trump got a trade deal where we get over $1 trillion of investment. We become pretty much one of the sole providers of energy to the European Union. Oh, yeah, and we get to sell our cars and our agriculture there for the first time ever. I mean, there's nothing bad about any of this. There's nothing bad about anything. All of this is extra money to pay down the debt. All of this is extra money that we didn't have. All of this is a lottery ticket. Donald Trump is a lottery ticket for the American economy, and we hit it big. We won. Howard Lutnick was on talking about how this is what people don't understand is the tariffs over the next 10 years will bring in an insane amount of money.
So the tariff revenues are amazing, right? $700 billion a year. That's just net new money the government never had before. So you take that every year for 10 years, that's $7 trillion. And then what they're not counting is the way the president is smashing open these markets. You got every market, right? Japan, Indonesia, Vietnam, you name the deal he does, and he opens that market. That's going to have export growth, right? Never before has our ag and our industrials actually had access to these markets. You know, we're meeting later today with the European Union. You know, the president's goal, get those markets open for Americans to export to them. And that growth is going to pay for everything. It makes Americans richer. And, of course, our tax revenues go up the right way by Americans making more money by winning in business.
I mean, that is all we ever really wanted. Listen, before I've gone so long, there's stuff I wanted to get to, but I know that this has already been an extended episode. I want to share with you this one thing because, you know, Donald Trump is an optimist eternally. He's an optimist. He's a positive guy. He loves America. He loves investment. He loves everything. There's one thing Donald Trump truly hates, though, and it's not Hillary Clinton. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't like her. It's not the Democrats. I mean, he doesn't like them either. But this guy, Donald Trump, I've never met anybody who hates windmills as much as Donald Trump hates windmills. This guy, I mean, I know people like, there's people who are like, oh God, I hate the left. Oh God, I hate communists. Oh God, I hate, what are people? The people hate all kinds of things. But hangnails. Oh, I hate hangnails. They're the worst. Donald Trump hates windmills with a passion.
And the other thing I say to Europe, we will not allow a windmill to be built in the United States. They're killing us. They're killing the beauty of our scenery, our valleys, our beautiful plains. And I'm not talking about airplanes. I'm talking about beautiful plains, beautiful areas in the United States. And you look up and you see windmills all over the place. It's a horrible thing. It's the most expensive form of energy. It's no good. They're made in China, almost all of them. When they start to rust and rot in 8 years, you can't really turn them off. You can't bury them. They won't let you bury the propellers, the props, because there's a certain type of fiber that doesn't go well with the land. That's what they say. The environmentalists say you can't bury them because the fiber doesn't go well with the land. In other words, if you bury it, it will harm our soil. The whole thing is a con job. It's very expensive. And in all fairness, Germany tried it, and wind doesn't work. You need subsidy for wind, and energy should not need subsidy. With energy, you make money. You don't lose money. But more important than that is it ruins the landscape. It kills the birds. They're noisy. You have a certain place in the Massachusetts area that over the last 20 years had 1 or 2 whales wash ashore, and over the last short period of time, they had 18, okay? Because it's driving them loco. It's driving them crazy. Now, windmills will not come. It's not going to happen in the United States. And it's very expensive. And I would love to see. I mean, today I'm playing the best course, I think, in the world, Turnberry. Even though I own it, it's probably the best course in the world, right? And I look over the horizon and I see 9 windmills. It's like great. At the end of the 18th, I said, isn't that a shame? What a shame. You have the same thing all over Europe in particular. You have windmills all over the place. Some of the countries prohibit it, but people ought to know that these windmills are very destructive. They're environmentally unsound, just the exact opposite. Because the environmentalists, they're not really environmentalists. They're political hacks. These are people that they almost want to harm the country. But you look at these beautiful landscapes all over the world. Many countries have gotten smart. They will not allow it. They will not. It's the worst form of energy, the most expensive form of energy. But windmills should not be allowed.
Yeah, Donald Trump hates windmills so much. That was 2 minutes and 30 seconds of him just bashing windmills, every aspect of them, what they're made of, how ugly they are, how stupid they are, how they're made in China, how the environmentalists, the political the windmills. Tuh. Donald Trump hates windmills about as much as the liberals hate Sydney Sweeney.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very keen.
Yeah, and I just admit that's just bringing the show. That's just bringing everything full circle for you. Listen, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel because we're constantly doing stuff. Live streams. We're doing videos every single day. We got shorts coming, all this stuff. Whatever information you need, whatever you need to know, whatever you don't know that you want to know, the people that are coming out and attacking you, the way you need to protect yourself, we're going to teach you here every single day. On Wednesday, don't forget, Podcast Profits Pro. If you've ever wondered, and again, it's not just, what happened? There we go. It's not just people that are, because people are like, Mark, I don't really want to be a political podcast. It's not a political podcast. Podcasting is the ultimate form of social media. It's better than any other form of social media for anybody. I don't care if you work for a company. I don't care if you work for yourself. I don't care if you're retired. Any goal that you have in life that requires you to get in touch with other people, connect with customers, build your influence, whatever it is, podcasting is the best, easiest way to do it. And I can teach you how to set up a podcast. We can set up your podcast in an hour. And on Wednesday night, I'm hosting Podcast Profits Live. No joke, folks. To coin a phrase from Joe Biden, no joke. In 1 hour, you're going to learn all these amazing things. How to speak and grow rich with your own podcast. The easiest way to record and distribute your podcast for free. Repurposing your podcast into a multimedia empire. Why you must have a podcast to succeed in the new golden age. All of this is true. All of this I've taught to hundreds of people, and I'm going to teach it to hundreds of people more. We usually fill up. I have a Zoom room. I don't know even how many people are allowed in it, but if you want to come, go to podcastprofitspro.com. There's a link in the description of this video, podcastprofitspro.com. Link in the description of this video. Come to this free event Wednesday night, and I'll teach you everything that I know about podcasting for profit, which is a lot. Because like I said, this is what I do. This is my new golden age. This is how I've built my online media empire and my online media company. And I'll teach you how to do the same thing from the comfort of your own home or your office or traveling around wherever you want to go. I travel. As you know, I'm always on the move, broadcasting from the beach and broadcasting from Tampa at TPUSA and broadcasting from all kinds of fantastic places. It's really, truly incredible. And whatever your goal is, my goal is twofold: to earn a living, to make offers that people like, and also to help save the Republic. Hence the name of this podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Whatever your goal is, we can help you get there. Go to podcastprofitspro.com. And in the meantime, thanks again. Thanks for subscribing. Please do me a solid and make sure that you continue to listen and watch every single day. If you're listening to the podcast, tell iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio and all those other places you love this podcast and you want it. You want more of it. You want it every single day. Make sure that wherever you are, in your car, your office, at the gym, wherever you listen, you're listening every single day because they're coming for us. And we've got to be ready to fight so we can continue to save the Republic. Also, since I went a little late today, unfortunately, we will not have time for the after party today. We will regroup with the after party tomorrow. Cross my heart, hope to die